Welcome everyone to Witch Bitch, where we talk the real tea. And today we have Jen Vilz once again. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I think, well, I know us three are feeling it, so there's a lot of people most likely who are watching that are feeling the same thing. And that's around healing and feeling quite deep in our emotions and in the healing state. And so, yeah, today we're going to be talking about healing from a higher perspective, a higher dimension, the 5D, instead of being, yeah, like healing from the 5D so it comes through to the 3D and it doesn't have to be so dark and lonely and sad. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we should probably begin by how we've been feeling in 2023 so far and in this week and, how we're healing. I think that would probably be the best way to start this conversation. I don't know. But does anyone want to share first or
Yeah.
I can go?
So
Okay. Oh, yeah, you
20,
go.
yeah, 2022 for me was very big changes in the sense of my mind and my goals and what I wanted to achieve, and I kind of felt a shift, right? 2023, different story. So one thing I think is important, and we were just talking about this previously before we jumped on, is to acknowledge that, when we sit in our shit and we do the work and we think we've just gone through and done everything, that there's another steep roller coaster, like, oh shit, I gotta hold on. It's very up and down with this whole journey. And um, being vulnerable and being open and talking about experiences can help others on their healing journey as well. I know for me, the start of this year has been quite emotional, personal and emotional for me. Um, I, I'm not backwards and going forwards. I'm very open and very sharey. Sometimes I share too much, which has got me into trouble in the past. But I think it's important for people to see, like what you were just saying, Claudia. It's important for people to see those moments, that raw vulnerability, to help others in their journey. Because if we can't express it, then we're suppressing it, and when we suppress it, we get sick, right? For me, at the moment, my health is on the main front for me. It's been a little bit tipsy-turvy, and I've been a battle of the mind and emotions, and I've been sharing that quite freely on social media, and there's some feedback, and I've heard people come back to me and say, you know what, I just happened to be watching your post when my mum was around, and she's not a very open, sharing person, but I watched your video with her weight as well, because I'm going through weight issues at the moment, and she struggles with her weight as well. And her watching you be so vulnerable, she actually opened up a little bit to me for the first time in I don't even remember how long. So that makes an impact. You know what I mean? I think, each one teach one. Well, I like to use that hashtag, each one teach one, because there's no wrong or right. I say this quite often. There is no wrong or right. There's only learning and observing. And when we can observe each other and we can take information that people share or experiences that people do, emotion that people feel, because a lot of people can connect to emotions. Like when you watch, I've cried in Home and Away for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? It's you can feel emotion, you can see emotion, and witnessing that can actually help you and help you process things. So it's definitely been a And we're only, what today's date? The 27th? We're only 27 days in. Hold on.
Oh God,
It's going to be
don't
a
say
bit
that.
bumpy.
Yeah, I personally I agree really strongly. I actually started off this year on a real high, and like I had the best first week or so on in this year. It's been like such a whirlwind, and then I kind of came off the high, and then it was like, okay, let's do the work. And I've been doing the work, and it's brought up a lot that I wasn't expecting. And um, yeah, it was just like during the high, I realized that I could be on that high all the time in some aspect. I'm still going to feel sad. It's not like that, but like I could be in that vibration all the time, but I have to do the work to get there. And it's triggered up so much in me, like so much healing that I've had to now address and look at, and within my physical body, specifically around hormones and stuff. And yeah, it's been scary to face it, because it sometimes, like, healing can be so big, and you want to try and be able to do it. Like, that's been my journey with my healing so far in my spiritual journey, is I want to be able to heal myself. I want to be the one to do it. But sometimes it just, you can't, like, and it sucks. Like, sometimes most of the time you can, sometimes you can, and you always can in one. But I think taking help from other people is so, and that is really in a big aspect, taking help, like that is helping yourself, because others are you, and that's you helping yourself in a way. And that's been my journey of like letting go of this, trying to prove to myself that I can do it, like prove to my ego that I can do it all on my own, and letting go of that, and reaching out, like you said. And I'm also like you, Jen, where I share everything vocally, and sometimes I share a little bit too much. And one thing that I've noticed is, not only do you help others when you share, and you help others in ways that you can never like understand. You'll never know what it's like, how they're receiving, but sometimes it can, because I know when people share and open up with me about their healing, it's changed my life. So not only can you change someone else's perspective, someone else's um, healing journey, you also create ways that open up um, for more healing. Because if, for example, if I had a headache, and if I just kept it to myself, then I'm dealing with a headache all alone. But if I told my friend, hey, I've got a really bad headache, man, then they might have some peppermint oil to give me to heal, or like help with the headache. And they'll be like, oh, I have peppermint oil, here you go. Like, you're also opening yourself up to healing and receiving from other people. And in one aspect, I received this, not so much in a physical healing sense, but in my spiritual and emotional healing. I've been feeling like my time in Byron has been up for a while, or maybe not up, but it's coming to an end. I was like, I'm kind of done with this place now, because it's just so full on. And I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was emotionally like experiencing a lot, and it was just overwhelming me. And I was sharing my feelings with all these people, and in one day, after sharing my emotions with two people, I figured out what I'm going to be doing next, and where I'm going to be going. And it's going to be the most fun time. I'm going to this like funky hippie meet-up gathering. It's called the Rainbow Gathering, and I'm going to this big hippie gathering on the way home to Sydney. And then in Sydney, I'm going to be going to a concert by my favourite artist, my favourite ever singer in the whole wide world. And I'm going to go with my mum. I don't know why I said my mum. Mum. I'm going with mum to this concert of my favourite singer, and I'm also going to be doing some work and getting my license, and then I'm going to be going up to Cairns and living up there with one of my new best friends that I've made, and we're going to do farm work together, and we're going to go halves on a car and then travel Australia. And I figured that all out in one day just because I shared what was on my heart and what needed to be expressed and healed and transmuted. And even though that isn't healing in a physical sense, I think it can be transferred into, like, it happens no matter what, you know, like that also happens with healing as well, and physically. So that's been my experience in 2023 so far. It's been like ups and downs, and before we started the live, Jen, you were talking about how um, you know, one week you'll be so fine, and then the next week, like in one day, it just changes. And it's been like that for me too. What about you, Mum? How have you been feeling?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, what you were saying is kind of like making me see that you've decided to open yourself up to receiving. Like we as 3D humans call it asking for help.
Yeah.
But if we aren't open to receiving from the universe, like the opportunities that are around us by opening our mouth and talking and speaking our truth, because when you say, "Oh, I've got such a headache," that's your truth in that moment. That's your body experiencing pain in that moment. And you put that vibration out into the universe, and somebody comes back and says, "Oh, I've got some oil that might take care of that for you." When we aren't open to that possibility and we say, "Well, I need to heal myself, I need to do it all on my own, I need to take control of this situation, I need to be there for me," all of that's true, but it's not true all of the time.
Yeah.
And when we are strict with ourselves, like, "Oh, I have to do it on my own, I want to, I want to prove to myself that I can heal, I want to," whatever it is, healing, making money, you know, what, going on a holiday, whatever it is, when we say, "I can do it, I'm doing it all on my own," we're closing ourselves off to the possibility of those opportunities around us. And so, really, all we're doing when we say that I'm going to speak my truth, I'm going to accept help from people, we're just opening ourselves up to that abundance that's around us. And I think that really is the first step in the healing journey in the 5D, is trusting the universe is there to provide, and that when we speak our truth, like we're doing today, and Jen, like you reminded us of our conversation before the camera started rolling, we trust the universe when we're vulnerable and we're willing to be vulnerable and we're willing to say our truth and we're willing to put our share out there. Um, and and when we do that, yes, we're putting ourselves in a position where we can be judged. But when we really understand what that judgment is, it's not about us, because us speaking our truth um, is the vulnerability is there to be judged, but that's not what's actually happening. That person has a filter on, or a projection on, or something going on in themselves that is creating that judgment. The judgment is all about them. And when you come to understand that, becoming vulnerable is easier. It becomes easier when that truth really does set into you, and you really understand that when somebody's judging you, it's not about you, it's about them. Um, that that's kind of like the pavement that paves the road to vulnerability. It all works together, and so that's part of the reason why on Witch Bitch we want to create this safe space where um, the judgment is held on the outskirts of the bubble. You know what I mean? this is a safe
Yeah.
space to be vulnerable and share and connect and start that vibration in the world, you know, and listening to each other's stories and hearing where you're coming from in your experience. Like listening to you,
Yeah.
Jen, I relate. I
Mhm.
relate to what you're saying. I'm going through something similar. And Juliet, you know, when you speak your truth about your health, I can relate that to other things in my life that I experienced. And it makes me feel like I'm not alone in my experience. And that I'm so grateful for. So grateful for that feeling of, because when, like you were saying, Jen, when you're all up in your head and you're feeling a bit loop de loop,
Yeah.
knowing that you're not the only one who's feeling that way makes you realize, well, okay,
Mhm.
I'm not loop de loop. This is actually
Yeah.
going on for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the anxiety levels for me can go quite high. I have learned
Yeah.
how to do over the years, but it's like a roller coaster. And like what I was saying
Yeah.
before, you know, you get to the top and it's like, oh, you know, and you go down and you're shitting yourself because you're going through all this stuff, and then it comes to the end and you think it's over, and then oh no, there's another couple of big dips in front. Hold on, here we go, and it's topsy turvy. But one thing I do want to kind of mention is sometimes when we're in our woo woo state, we can actually forget to just be. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're focusing so much on trying to heal everything, heal this, heal that, that we forget to actually be. So I'm really, really glad, Julia, that you're doing that and having fun, because I've seen the energy shift in you once you started to talk about that stuff to then what you're gonna do and the plans that you've got and what you're gonna, and I really like to see that because it's all about energy, right? You can tell when someone's feeling down there, the way that their body is, the way that they're talking, the way that they're looking. And when you're feeling that way, you can actually make that shift if you choose in your mentality, just by sitting up straight, the way you use your voice, the things that you're thinking about, the plans that you're making, and it can have so much of, see, there you go. You can have so much of a change in energy and make it better. So for anybody out there that's listening that might be feeling like that, I invite you to just try it. Put a bit of music on, pop your chest out, maybe not too far to draw too much attention, if you know what I mean. But it's the way you present yourself, it's the energy that you bring. Like this is your life. And the other thing is we all get stuck in moments. We all get stuck in moments and that's okay. But being vulnerable and sharing could make someone that's possibly on the cusp of doing something that they might regret. And we all know what I'm talking about without me saying it. When you're feeling alone and then you're hearing someone going through that, you have that connection. It's like, oh wow, they're managing. Maybe I can push through too. So it's really, really important to have these conversations and know that it's not weak to speak out. It's not weak to speak. And sharing is an amazing energy tool, not only because you're giving information to other people, but sometimes it's when people ask you the right questions that you bring your own answers to the surface. We do that in coaching quite a lot. You know, we get these questions out to make you think slightly different or, you know, to make you question things. And when you don't know, it's like, well, but if you did know, what do you think the answer would be? And it makes you search places that you didn't really want to search for. That's really, really powerful.
Yeah, I know that's actually so true, and I think when there are things to be like big things to be healed within us, it likes to be a huge focus, and it's like I can't do anything until I've sorted out this thing, and I had to really let that go because one example was my teeth. I have crooked teeth, and it was like a huge insecurity growing up, and I was like on the fence on whether or not I wanted to go through with braces or if I wanted to just leave them and learn to accept them. And like I was on this path between the two, and I decided let's just not do it instead of hyperfixating on this, because I was, and I was like stopping myself from doing things. Like I wanted to travel at the time, and I stopped myself from travel, like really going out and doing it, because it was like, no, but I want to get my teeth sorted. I want to know what's going on with my teeth before I go. And then I just never even made a choice anyway. And I was just like living my life still, but just not maybe in the way that I really wanted it at the highest level. And then I was like just stuck, and I still hadn't made a choice whether to get braces or not. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go travel and we'll figure it out. And during that time of traveling and still living my life, when there was still this healing in some stage, in some aspect to do, whether it was the choice of physical healing or emotionally healing around my teeth, I learned the real solution. The real solution came to me, and it was because I went and travelled and discovered that part of myself. And I came back to Sydney, and I had an orthodontist appointment, and I found out I didn't have to get braces right now, that I can still get them as an adult, and it's totally fine. And it's because the orthodontist was like, yeah, you can get them when you're an adult, it's totally fine. But my dentist actually said the opposite, and that like, oh, if you wait till you're an adult, this will happen, like putting all these like beliefs into me. And so that's where my doubt was, because I knew I didn't want to get them, but also there was all this doubt clouding me. And so, yeah, the answers came because while I was traveling, I realized I really like my teeth right now. And yes, one day I do want to get braces, but today or this time in my life is not the time that I want to do it. And the solution came to me because I still went out and lived my life and stayed in my truth and didn't let it stop me. And then it's been the same with my hormones as well. Like I really haven't, the answer still isn't fully clear to me how I want to take this journey, but the answers have been coming to me more and more while I've been on my travels up here, because I'm around so many beautiful women that are giving me advice and that are telling me about their stories, and I'm connected to so many more women up here, and it's been really healing. And so I've been receiving a lot because I didn't let the healing stop me from going out and living. And you can do that in so many ways, like even if it's just channeling your feelings through art. Like if you're feeling really low, I like to do that, where whatever I'm feeling, if it's really dark, I will connect through my creativity to my spirit and like just channel it all out of me onto paper. And that way I can see it, what it looks like, what it feels like, and it's also in an observation state because it's not in me anymore, it's there on the paper, and I can understand it a little bit more. And just doing things like smiling when you don't feel happy. I did that the other day for the first time, and it felt incredible. I was like, oh, this actually works. I'm actually kind of happy now because I've just pretended to, like, I've just put a smile on my face and pretended to be happy, and it actually uplifted my spirits. And there's so many small things that you can like take yourself out of the dark lostness of healing. And I think that's what healing is in the 3Ds, doing those things for yourself. And they do actually transfer into healing into the 3D because it clears the passage and it clears the way for you to actually see what needs to be addressed and the path that you need to take for yourself in moving forward. Yeah.
I also feel like you guys aren't the only ones that I've had this conversation with recently. I've got a soul sister group. I've got a couple of actually, and they're all saying the same thing. There's this icky energy at the moment, And one of the main girls in the group was actually talking about how now is sometimes in these kind of periods is a time for rest and recovery, and just to kind of sit in it for a little bit to feel it. And I seen a post by this one girl over in the States named Stasia, and she went and lived in her grandmother's house after she passed away a few months back. And she said she felt there was a lot of darkness in the house, right? To where she didn't want to do anything. So she just sat there for a couple of days. She sat in the darkness and she allowed it to flow through her. And as the days progressed, it got lighter and lighter and lighter. And it ended up shifting the whole energy in the house because she brought the light into the darkness. It was really, really powerful. And we can do that within ourselves because we are light. We hold the light inside of us. So even when there's dark moments, dark nights of the soul, we can find the light inside of us if we allow things to move through us and not suppress. So that's a really good takeaway that I got from those messages to share.
Yeah, and that's so, it's so true, so profound, but it's really hard to do.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's when if you go into a situation and you're feeling good, you're feeling stable within yourself, and you go into a situation that's quite dark, that darkness doesn't have a chance because you're bringing in your weapons of light, you know. But when you're feeling, because I've had recently some really dark moments and feeling like I was telling you girls before we started, that feeling of in my body of anxiety and depression, and you know, the tears flowing and feeling hopeless, all of those really dense emotions in my body, and I don't like it. I don't like feeling like that. And they were on levels, it happened on levels that went deep in me. And so when you're in that darkness and you're feeling it all in your body, allowing it to move through you is really difficult.
Yeah,
it's
it can be.
Hard. Yeah. And allowing, especially, particularly at my age, allowing the tears, because the tears are few and far between now. When you're a kid, you cry so easily, but when you get older and, you know, you start to live your life and your brain develops and you can kind of like, you've got the ability and the tools to sort through those emotions. Tears don't come easily anymore because they're few and far between. But this must have been like child stuff because I was bawling my eyes out and crying.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. So it tapped into something very deep, and I allowed it, even though I hated the feeling that I was going through, and I really didn't, I was judging it, I didn't want it, I was doing everything I could not to resist it and allow it to come up and to flow and to get out of me. As soon as I let the tears come, nothing had changed about my situation. All that had happened is tears flowed, and it had burst that bubble of energy out and dissipated it. And so the light could then come in. And I didn't feel so bad anymore. Just that one physical act of allowing the tears to flow really kind of like shifted the perspective in me and allowed that bubble of denseness to come out.
Yeah.
And it was a huge lesson. Well, not a lesson, but a realization, really, or a reminder that when you allow your body to express itself in the ways that it needs to, it helps the spirit. It helps the spirit pass through those dense energies, and you don't understand it. You don't know why you're crying. You don't know why you're feeling so shit. But really, does it matter? At the end of the day, your body is telling you you need to cry, you need to let it out. And then when you trust in that and you don't stop yourself, oh, I'm, 50, almost 52 years old, why am I crying? Like, all that stuff that goes through your head, when you kind of allow that to just move through you and away, and then the tears come and you allow the tears to come, it's transformative. And it may only be a
100%.
little step. It may only be like a little step in your darkness, but it can be profound.
Sure can. My husband actually is transmuting a lot of the stuff that I teach everybody else as well. And he'll find me in a moment sometimes and he's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "I don't think so. So just let it out." And as soon as he says it, it's like I have permission, and then I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And he sees it in me now, and having someone there to kind of be like, it's okay. When you get those moments and you're not okay, and then someone says, "Are you okay?" It's almost like permission to kind of be like, "No, I'm not." Right? Do you know what I mean? So it's good. It's and then although you're snotty and you got red eyes and you turn up looking puffy and all sorts of shit, you sit there and it's kind of like, I feel a little bit lifted. It's still there, but I feel a little bit lifted. It's good to share.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and I think that journey in the 3D, that's where it starts. It's like the precipice is in the 3D, in our physical body. And then that journey moves through the physical body into the spirit. And and it opens the doors. It opens, it clears the way. It's like last night, for example, we live not far from the city, and you can kind of see the city skyline from our back deck, and the sky was full of fireworks. It was beautiful, but after the fireworks come, there's a blanket of smoke, and what happened last night is this big blanket of smoke covered the view, and then nature opened up and started to rain, and lightning, and this big storm came. So it went from this man-made display of light and then smoke covered everything, to nature washing away with the rain all the smoke, because that dissipated in the rain, and then this natural light show, this nature of electricity and lightning and thunder came. And it was almost like, you think you can do a good job of this? I'm going to show you what it's really about. Like nature just took the stage. And it was so beautiful, because what that was showing me was that when you try and control it, when you do your put your hand into nature, and you're like, okay, we're gonna take it from here, we're gonna have the steering wheel, you can do a good job, you can get the fireworks and the display and everything, and it's beautiful, but then nature comes in, and your spirit like your body is telling you do this, do that, and then the spirit comes in, and it rains, and the lightning comes, and the storm comes, and it's just so much more spectacular and powerful. And that's what that was saying to me last night when I saw all of that. It was like, that's a huge eye-opener. And those sorts of lessons are everywhere. Those communications from the universe to us is everywhere.
I actually had a download. I went to Wollongong. It was a while back, but I had a download and I actually shared it on social media. I had them in my reel for ages, and I'm like, why am I not posting this? It's really good content. And I had a moment, and I rewatched it, and I was like, that was powerful for me to watch back, right? Video journals, right? And I'm like, I'm posting this. So I posted it on TikTok and I think on Insta. And it was basically, I was at the beach and I had this download of watching the waves because it was quite a choppy day at Wollongong. And I was watching the waves smash, smash, smash against the rocks. And as I was watching it, I had this download that came, and it was like, the reason why the rocks aren't moving is because they are part of the earth. They're grounded. So their rocks go deep, deep, deep into the ground. And no matter how high and how choppy those waves got, it was taking the full brunt force of it, right? And the whitewash was washing over it and washing over it. And just like the sun rises every day after a storm, the waters recede and it gets calmer. And you've got the whitewash and the big waves at the front, but you get through that and out further, it's calmer waters. And just like the tides of the moon and all the rest of it, different types of waves. And it just really made me feel like, well, this is a choppy day. I'm having a choppy day today. Next week it might be smooth sailing and I might feel like I'm in the middle of the Bahamas somewhere. But at the moment I'm at Wollongong and this motherfucker is really wild, you know. But it was a good way to see things, and it put a different perspective on things, and it was very powerful for myself. And I felt it really, when I shared it, it really made a difference for other people as well. So it's Mother Nature. Epic.
Yeah.
Grounding is really important too when we're in these moments.
I've really learnt the value of Mother Nature while staying, because I'm living in a tent. I'm very close to her all the time, and it's actually been such a beautiful journey. I thought I would be scared, and I think Mum, you did too. You thought I would be scared, but there's been moments of fear, but only when like there's a spider physically on me. That's the only time I'll be scared. But any other time than that, I won't feel any fear. I swear to gosh, I almost stepped on a snake the other day, and like a deadly one too, like a red belly black snake, but not even a little bit of fear. Maybe shock, but never fear. I was just like, oh my God, there's a snake. Oh, I almost stepped on that. And then I just continued going. It was like, yeah, okay, well that just happened, but there's just like so much trust, and my relationship with her has grown so much stronger. Like I literally just walk 100 meters in front of me and there's this beautiful grandfather tree, or grandmother tree, I don't know, but I think grandfather. And it's so magnificently beautiful that the hostel has actually built a deck around it. So everyone comes to do yoga, to meditate, to, sit and talk, to eat. It's like this gathering space around this huge tree. And that's where I get to go and process my shit. I just go to this tree. And then also behind my tent there's this tree stump, and sometimes I go there to meditate, and behind that tree stump there's a whole forest, and there's also like a swamp right next to it with all these like little, I don't know what they're called, but the little mini lily pads that like cover the surface of the water, and it's just like, it's a bright green swamp. It looks so beautiful, and yeah, I have all this nature around me, so it's been very easy to connect during the lower points of my time there. And you learn and receive, like it's just so much easier to heal when you have her around you, because you learn so much. I mean, this tree has probably gone through so much. I mean, imagine all the people that have cried. I've cried there, so imagine all the other people that have cried there. Imagine all the healing that's happened around this tree. And this tree literally lives in the middle of, like, its roots get stepped on every day. It's, it's in a very busy place, and I'm sure it's faced some major things. I don't even want to know. And yeah, it's like, it's stood so tall and so proud and so large, and its roots are so widespread and so deep, and it's so tall. And it's just like such a beautiful thing to learn from. And I think when you're connected so deeply, you have that trust. And yeah, I almost stepped on a snake, but it was like, I almost stepped on a snake. Oh, that could have been bad. That could have been bad. Let's just carry on with our day. Like if that was me, at, at another point in life, I don't know what I would have done. I would have freaked out. Actually, I was just like,
Juliet,
oh,
when I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about our families and our kids and stuff, and I was telling her that you'd moved out and you were living in Byron, and she was like, "Oh, Byron," and I was like, "Oh, she lives in a tent." And her face was like a tent, like she was confused. It was like, how do you live in a tent in Byron Bay? Like, and I said, "Oh, well, it's like this temporary living situation where she's been there for a few months and she's exploring. And if that was me any time ago, like 6 months ago, a year ago, I would have had this pang of like, oh, she's judging me and she doesn't get it and I'm having to explain it, and like this whole thing, it would have been a whole thing, and embarrassment and all of that. But what I realized in that conversation with her was none of that matters. Her confusion, like in the conversation, her confusion, I allowed it to just be her confusion, and it didn't faze me whatsoever. It did not faze me. I wasn't explaining to her your situation. It was more like, to me, it was like a joke, like I was laughing at her reaction. And it was more like a playful, yeah, she lives in a tent, like to shock her. And it was, not to shock her, but enjoying the
yeah,
fact that
enjoying the
her face was
reaction.
doing what it was doing,
Mm-hmm.
And because I felt so okay about it, because I know that you are connecting into nature with the experience that you're doing. I know that living in a tent has provided that connection for you in a way that is safe for you.
Yeah.
But just enough, like it has just pulled you out of your comfort zone enough to allow you to experience spiders, bugs, red belly snakes. It's provided this, you living on the precipice of this swamp, right on the border of this swamp. It's allowed you to explore your relationship with nature, and it's been a very healing journey for you. And so all of that was the point, and all of that is what I'm so grateful for. So when I was telling her you lived in a tent, none of her judgment mattered to me, because it was her own it was her own
Perception.
perception of the situation.
Yeah.
And so for me, like that is such a healing thing as a mother, particularly as a mother, to be able to see your child's journey through the depth of gifts that it's giving you, like how many levels down it's helping you to explore who you are, explore your fears, explore your loves of the love of nature, because I know you have had this love-hate relationship with nature, and that to me is so much, like, just so big. It's so valuable and so wonderful for you and for me to watch you going through it, that nothing can rock that. Like that's the roots of the tree that you're talking about, and that's the rock in the splashes of waves. That's the depth and the anchoring and the knowing that I have that you're on your path, and that you're doing the right thing for you. And to so much so that when it happens, I can laugh about it. I can
Yeah.
find the funny in the situation.
You know what? Like, actually, you saying that, I received so much from that because I realize I feel the same.
Mm.
I think when, like, for example, I told my boss at work once that I live in a tent, and she was like, "You live in a tent? You live in a tent?" And she also knew which hostel I was living in, which is like, as far as all the hostels around here, it's a nice hostel. That's why I moved there. But as far as all the other ones, it's not very nice. And so I'm living at like maybe one of the worst rated hostels in Byron, and also in a tent. She was like, "They have tents there and you're living in a tent there? Oh my God, what are you doing?" And I was like, and I laughed. And I was like, not fake, like, 'cause she was definitely judging. She was definitely judging me. And I like just laughed because I knew in that moment, first of all, nothing I could have said to her would have allowed her to see what it's actually done for me, and how this living situation, I choose any day over living in a house or living in a more stable structure. and nothing I could have said would make her see that it was nowhere near as bad as she's like making it out to be in her head. And so I just laughed and I said, "Yeah, it's not that bad." And she was like, "Oh, I think you're just telling yourself that." And I just laughed at her because it's like, I'm not just telling myself that. And like, I didn't even have to, I didn't get offended. I didn't get phased at all. I just laughed because it's like, you just don't understand. You're just not on my level. It's just not on my level of really reading into like how perfect this situation has been for me. I am ready to get out of it now, but for that time in my life, that's been the perfect journey, and it's actually been so much fun. Like, I've had so much fun, and yeah, I've healed a lot of my relationship with nature, relationship with my body, relationship with myself from it. So there's no, like, I know now that if I need to, I can live basically anywhere. I can have fun. Not only can I live anywhere, I can thrive anywhere. You know, it doesn't have to be this, the white picket fence sort of living situation to be happy at all. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's the thing, how does she know? How does she know what it's like to live in a tent? Because she's projecting what she thinks she knows into the situation, not really understanding. And maybe it's not for her. Maybe it's not, living in a tent is not for everyone.
No.
But how do you know if you've never done it? Really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Like, people can say, "Oh, you live in a tent," like, I would hate that. But how do you really know until you've done it?
Yeah. Yeah, there's some people out there that it's so weird. Like, reactions are so two ways. Like, there's two reactions. Like, one of the first ever shifts I had at work, I was talking to this guy because we were quiet, and I had space to have a conversation with him. And he was like, "Oh, are you going to live here for a long time?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just moved from Sydney to a tent here." And he was like, wait, what?" And then he gave me a high five. "Buy you a drink?" And I'm like, "You can't buy me a drink because otherwise I will get fired. I'm not allowed to drink, but I appreciate it." He was like, "That's amazing. You're really living life right now. You're doing it. I'm so proud of you." I'd only just met this man and he was so excited. And then, yeah, on the other side you have, "Wait, what? You live in a tent? I would hate that. How are you doing that?" Like they're the two they're the two reactions. Yeah.
Got two different extremes.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's
but so
fun.
many things are like that, aren't they? So many things are like that, particularly
100%.
when you're not following the normal accepted path in life,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And
Because
that
it
comes
comes
back
with
down to,
perception.
yeah, that comes back down to our beliefs, our morals, and the way we were raised, and the conditioning, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I'm finding there are so many people breaking free of those ways of thinking, and I love seeing, and I even like being challenged, because I, being new age thinker and doing all the woo woo stuff that I do, I don't dismiss anybody's beliefs or ways of thinking, regardless of how left of my center they are. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if they can, like, because I said before that I always feel there is no wrong or right. There's just like learning and feedback and understanding and observing. And
Yeah.
some people struggle to debate with me because of that. Because I'm like, I totally get that. I don't always, you know, I probably wouldn't think like that, or I probably wouldn't do it that way, but that's okay. And they're like, like waiting for that bite.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
Very much
And it's
so.
interesting, I think, too, to look at yourself in those conversations and your own reactions to what's going on in that.
Mm.
Because I see myself, like you were saying, Juliet, with bugs and with nature, I see that in myself when it comes to people pleasing and having conversations and being judged in those conversations. Like, I know it to be a moment that will be over, that person that I'm talking to is, you know, where they are in my circle of influence in my life. That, you know, their reactions can only impact me if I allow them to. Things like that, like all of that stuff a year ago or 2 years ago would have been so huge to me. You know, it would have been the first thing I'd be thinking is, how does that reflect on me? How does that make me look? What is, you know, it's like I was allowing other people's projections of me and perceptions of me to make me who I am. I was allowing it to influence me and get into the fabric of me. And now I realize, no, I get to decide who I am, and I get to decide, regardless of what people think. They are judging me on that moment in time, but I'm so much more than that. I'm so much more than the sum of one or two encounters with somebody. And I get to decide that for myself. And that's been a massive change in my life. And it doesn't, I mean, I'm not like that all the time. I don't, like, there are people who still affect me, and there are situations that still, you know, are hard for me to deal with, but it's not like it used to be. It's definitely, when I think about it, I look back, I can see the difference.
Yeah, I still have, when in those conversations, I still get stuck in my old ways of thinking.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm contemplating, well, there was quite a period of time there where I was contemplating a surgery that's going to help me with my health. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that because I want to do it myself. I can do this myself. And like we were discussing before, it's like, it's not weak to ask for help. It's not weak to say, okay, maybe I need a different tool, you know. But when you're tunnel visioned around certain beliefs and stuff, it's really hard to kind of chip away and be like, okay, maybe I can see something a little bit different. But that's okay to be like that as well. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're feeling, that moment is perfect for you because it's your unfoldment. It's your journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So true. I think we're at an hour, are we, Juliet?
Almost, yeah. A few minutes out
Oh,
from an hour.
Jen, it's been amazing talking to you again. Like,
I always love having these conversations with you ladies, and I appreciate when you
yeah.
ask me to come on.
I would like to ask if you would maybe pull a card, even if it's just one,
Oh,
for us
yes,
before we
please.
finish.
Yeah,
Would you
all
be
right.
alright with that?
I will. Let's move on. Honesty or motivation? Which one we going for?
Honesty.
Mm.
Honesty. I was actually going to go for that because we
Yeah.
all like a little bit of honesty. And these cards
That
are
kind of goes
opposite.
with today's topic too.
For those of you that are wondering what these cards are, they're the fucking Honest Oracle by Lindy Jewell, psychic medium. She's on Facebook and on TikTok and Insta. She's down in Melbourne,
Okay.
so she's beautiful soul. All right, let's see what comes up. Are we going one for the collective or one card each? What are we doing? What do you want to do?
What are you feeling, Mum?
How
I
about
think a card each.
a card each? All right.
Mm.
All right. So we'll go Juliet. Oh, woo fucking who? This is number 25. Number 25 says, oh yeah, you did it. If you haven't done it yet, you will. Ride this wave of positivity all the way to the beach, you fucking legend. We totally knew you could do it. Now it's time for you to believe it too.
Awesome.
Okay. That one's big.
See. Oh, yeah. Oh. Drama, drama, drama. I actually pulled myself that card the other day. So it's funny because we're going through the same shit. All right. 42 says, drama, drama, drama. Put the drama down and walk the fuck away. Recognize your connection to bullshit and cut those fucking cords. You're too smart for that crap. Plug your brain back into gear and watch how much easier life gets.
Yeah, love that. Love that card.
I'll do
Chop.
one more for the
Did he chop?
collective.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes calling our energy back to us as well. Sometimes people can connect to us because we're awesome and they want some of our energy. Calling your energy back to you and cutting any cords from negative shit is a really good practice to put into place because it can make such a big difference with the energy that you give. All right, this is a collective one. Oh, fuck it all, guys. Fuck it all. 24 says fuck it all. It says no inclination whatsoever to put up with any more of that shit. It can fuck right off out of your aura and leave you the hell alone. Take a nap, get a big fat drink of water, go for a walk, even fucking meditate. Do whatever it takes to give yourself some peace. The epic future that is ahead of you more clearly.
Awesome.
Good, always good advice from that.
Yeah. I love it. It's like an older sister in an oracle card deck.
Yeah, and it's I think the swearing. I don't know. I've seen something before where I think Tony Robbins does it in his seminars. Sometimes he'll swear, and it shocks people. And when you shock people with that, like those words that they're not possibly not used to hearing, it makes them shoo away everything else and really hone in what you just said. So I love that she's created those cards, and I give so much props to her. She's a beautiful soul. So anybody that's interested, she's selling them on her website, and my website's launching this year, so I'll be selling them soon too.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Wow.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
No worries,
Jen.
guys.
Yeah, incredible.
Thanks for having
We
me.
love you. We love you.
Thank you.
We love your guts.
Yeah. Yeah, we love
Back
you
at you
guys.
guys.
Okay,
All right, till
well,
next
see you
time.
everyone.
Bye, guys. Love and light.